Hi, I'm Aasmah Mir. I'm co-presenter of The Breakfast Show on Times Radio. Been thinking a lot about the last year or so and what a year it's been. It's been completely crazy, hasn't it? I'm thinking about what the best news moment of the year was. There have been so many. I mean, where do you start? So many prime ministers, so many ministers, so many education secretaries. It's just been completely bonkers. But I would say that the kind of best news moment, I suppose, from a kind of personal point of view, if we can be personal, and also from a news point of view, is probably when all the madness finally ended. And that's when Liz Truss came to the podium outside Downing Street and said that she was resigning. Because, she had presided over 44, 45 days of mayhem, and someone needed to make an intervention. And I think it was Graham Brady, wasn't it, that made the intervention and said, you just don't have the support. And she, joined a long line of prime ministers standing outside number 10 and said that she was resigning. And I just think that kind of put an end to the madness, calmed the markets, which was really important. And also, in terms of kind of how we're seen abroad, I mean, I'm not that bothered about that, but it was farcical. I mean, people were phoning me up and saying, what on earth is going on in the UK? So that for me was the best moment, really, because it was kind of just the end of all the madness. And it was a relief, really, because it had been building and building and building in a very intense way over quite a short period of time. So I think that would be the best news moment for drama, and of course also for just its repercussions. But overall, 2022 was mad. And I suppose we probably thought that 2020 with the pandemic was going to be the maddest year ever. But little did we know that 2022 was gonna give us some gifts too. It's been relentless. It's been crazy. We started off the year, near the beginning of the year, with the terrible situation in Ukraine. And that was something that we did on The Breakfast Show. I remember the first day, a lot of people thought it wasn't going to happen. And then it just kind of happened overnight. It happened about 4 a.m., I think it was. And we went on at 6 a.m. and just confronted the reality of it. And there were a lot of very shocked people who came on the programme that day and talked about it and said it was the beginning of World War III and this was terrible. And it was incredibly dramatic and incredibly frightening, really. But then what else did we have in 2022? We had the kind of tail end of Partygate, pressure on Boris Johnson. There was all the stuff about Chris Pincher. There were all those resignations of all those ministers. I remember there was one particular day on Times Radio Breakfast where it felt like, everyone was resigning. And I think ultimately about 60 people resigned. Then he eventually resigned. Then there was this long drawn out contest over the summer with all the hustings. And then we had Liz Truss. And then we had the craziness of the mini budget. And then all the damage that did. And then finally, Rishi Sunak. And in the middle of that all, while the government is going crazy, it's either kind of doing nothing, it's holding a really long and drawn out leadership contest over the summer, or it's, they're all resigning left, right and centre. And it felt like the government was paralysed. It couldn't do anything. Who was actually doing their job? And that is incredibly worrying because we knew that there was going to be a cost of living crisis. Things were getting more expensive. The rate of inflation was going up. And now where we find ourselves at the end of 2022, with the cost of living incredibly high, inflation high, and all these strikes as well. So it's, from a news point of view, it's been a really full-on year. And just about everything has happened. I mean, war, resignations, economic meltdown, the pound plummeting, cost of living, and now strikes. But, the only thing you can really take from a situation where you have a crazy year, which has had a really difficult financial impact on a lot of people, is that you can only hope that the next year is going to be better. And there are a few signs that things are going to be better. In terms of strikes, like Rishi Sunak is saying that, he's going to look at pay review recommendations in April that come out, and hopefully for people who want their wages to rise, the nurses, the paramedics, etc., they will be hoping to get a decent pay rise. There are also some signs that inflation has peaked and is going to come down. It's already come down 1 month. So hopefully that will continue, but it's got a long way to come back down. And then obviously the Bank of England base rate may still rise, but mortgage interest rates of like 6-7%, hopefully they will have peaked too. So I'm just hoping that we are over the worst, because cost of living crisis plus unaffordable mortgage rates and energy bills, although there is some help with that, is just really, really difficult. So I think there are some reasons to be cheerful in 2023. So let's just hope that things get better, because it's been a crazy year. I'm also hoping for a really boring year next year, which sounds mad for someone who works in news. There are a lot of journalists who love the drama, and I used to be one of them. But the last couple of years has just been too much, and it's not good for the country. It's not good for the economy. It's not really good for people's perception of how sane and stable we are as a country. So I'm hoping for a really boring 2023. The other thing, of course, that happened in 2023 was the death of Queen Elizabeth II. That was also another huge moment that just drew everybody in, really. I mean, we had the queue. I think that's the thing I remember the most, really, from the whole 2 weeks or so. And then, of course, the state funeral. On the Queen, I remember at the time that people my age who have only ever really known a Queen, feeling a bit unsettled, I suppose, really, because this is the only person that we've ever known. It's the only monarch we've ever known. Someone who was always there has kind of just gone. And that's, even if you're not a monarchist, even if you're not a fan of the royal family or whatever you might be, it was still a presence that was always there, and then it was gone. And I think that's quite a thing to wrestle with, really. And then I also I was really glad, actually, that my daughter, who's 7, saw a Queen, because there won't be a Queen for another 3 monarchs. And I think I felt sad about that, really, because I've only ever known a Queen, and my daughter has seen a Queen, and I hope she remembers that there was a Queen up to the age of 7. But it's just, I think I saw this picture the other day, and it was a still photo of Liz Truss greeting, or Liz Truss being greeted by the Queen. And it just looks like ancient history, because obviously Liz Truss is no longer Prime Minister, and the Queen is no longer with us. And it just shows you the huge rate of change, really, over the year. So I suppose that was the biggest reflection, really, wasn't it, about, what happened with the Queen, this kind of end of an era, something we always knew that was going to happen. But when it eventually did, it was huge, and it absorbed everything, really, all the kind of, media, news coverage, newspapers, everything for a long time. But what I would say just finally is be hopeful, and be optimistic about next year, because it cannot be as crazy and as mad as this year.